Plesiosaurs, the long-necked legends. Meet the plesiosaurs, the OG Loch Ness monsters. These marine reptiles looked like someone combined a turtle, a crocodile, and a swan, then forgot to stop. With 4 powerful flippers and necks so long they looked like giraffes in scuba gear, plesiosaurs were built for ambush. Some stretched up to 40 feet long, with necks that could snake through schools of fish. Imagine chilling in prehistoric waters, and suddenly, a tiny head on a 15-foot neck darts out like a horror movie jump scare. That's plesiosaurs. Their long necks gave them options: approach prey from odd angles, snap sideways without moving their body, or lurk below and poke up like a nightmare periscope. It's also why some modern cryptid hunters insist Nessie is a surviving plesiosaur. Spoiler, Nessie is not. But if she was, you'd never go swimming in Scotland again. Plesiosaurs weren't the fastest swimmers compared to sharks, but their flippers let them fly underwater with incredible precision. Think 4 giant oars propelling a scaly submarine. If you were a fish, you had no chance. By the time you saw that creepy head, your day was over. So yeah, plesiosaurs were the legends of the sea, and if Nessie is their PR agent, she's been doing one hell of a job. Tanystropheus hydroides, the giraffe of the sea. If plesiosaurs had long necks, Tanystropheus said, "That's cute." Hold my kelp. This Triassic reptile looked like a crocodile somebody stretched in Photoshop. Its neck was longer than the rest of its body combined, about 10 feet of vertebrae strung together like a nightmare accordion. Scientists still argue how this thing even worked. Some say it lurked in shallow lagoons, holding its long neck out like a fishing pole to snatch unsuspecting prey. Others think it slithered its head into schools of fish and snapped sideways before anyone noticed. Either way, with a body shaped like, oops, all neck, it was one of evolution's weirdest experiments. Its neck bones were so heavy and stiff that Tanystropheus probably couldn't bend them much. Picture trying to sneak up on fish with a rigid broomstick for a neck. Not exactly graceful, but hey, it survived millions of years, so who's laughing now? At full length, it stretched nearly 20 feet, which is impressive until you realize half of that was neck. Imagine living your whole life basically as a reptilian giraffe on vacation. Tanystropheus wasn't the scariest predator, but it was definitely the strangest. If you saw one today, you'd either scream in terror or assume someone left a rejected Pokemon in the ocean. Helicoprion, the buzzsaw shark. Now we enter nightmare territory. Helicoprion was a shark with a literal buzzsaw in its mouth. Instead of neat rows of teeth like normal sharks, this one had a spiral of jagged blades curling backward into its jaw. For decades, scientists had no clue how it fit. Early guesses showed it hanging under the jaw like a saw blade beard. Others thought it was a circular blade sticking out of its face. Basically, Helicoprion got memed before memes existed. Turns out, the saw was inside the lower jaw. As new teeth grew, old ones spiraled back into the throat, creating a horrifying meat grinder. Imagine a fish getting caught in that. It's like being fed into a prehistoric garbage disposal. This monster swam around 270 million years ago, growing up to 25 feet long. Its diet? Likely soft-bodied prey, like squid, which it sliced up with its rotary chainsaw mouth. To put it simply, Helicoprion looked like evolution tried to invent a kitchen appliance but accidentally made a shark instead. Terrifying, impractical, and unforgettable. Habelia optata, the crab-lobster mystery. Next up, Habelia optata, a creature from 500 million years ago that looks like a crab, a lobster, and a nightmare had a baby. It was small, but covered in spines, with way too many legs and jaws designed for crunching hard shells. Some paleontologists think it was an ancestor to modern crabs and lobsters, but honestly, it looks like something you'd find lurking in a seafood restaurant dumpster. Habilia thrived during the Cambrian explosion, a time when evolution was basically throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what worked. Spiny armor? Check extra legs? Sure. Weird, gnashing mouth parts? Why not? It probably scavenged as much as it hunted, crawling across ancient seafloors like the garbage truck of the ocean. And, let's be real, if you saw one skitter across your living room floor today, you'd burn the house down. Lyrirapax unguispinus, the alien shrimp. If Habilia was weird, Lyrirapax said, "Hold my exoskeleton." This beast swam 520 million years ago, armed with grasping claw-like appendages and a circular, spiky mouth. Imagine a shrimp crossed with a facehugger from Alien, and you're halfway there. It belonged to a group called radiodonts, some of the earliest apex predators. Fossils show it had a brain structure strikingly similar to modern arthropods, meaning this wasn't just a dumb shrimp, it was an efficient little hunter. It would cruise ancient seas, grab prey with its spiny claws, and funnel it straight into its nightmare mouth. Scientists say it grew about 3 feet long, which doesn't sound scary until you remember everything else alive at the time was basically worm-sized. To a Cambrian critter, Lyrirapax was the final boss. Basically, it's proof that shrimp used to be terrifying before we decided to dip them in cocktail sauce. Placodonts, the shell crushers. After all that chaos, let's meet the ocean's chill monsters, the placodonts. Think prehistoric sea turtles, but instead of nibbling lettuce, they crunched shellfish with molar-like teeth. Placodonts had wide, flat bodies, sometimes even armored shells, and jaws designed for cracking open clams, mussels, and anything with a shell. They'd just mosey along the seafloor, hoovering up mollusks like a prehistoric vacuum cleaner. They weren't scary to humans, unless you were an oyster. Then placodonts were your personal apocalypse. Some species developed shells so thick they looked like floating tanks. Imagine a reptile with the vibe of a panda, but the jaw strength of a nutcracker on steroids. Cute? Yes. Terrifying if you're a clam? Absolutely. Sea scorpions, eurypterids. Arachnophobia, the ocean edition. If spiders and scorpions freak you out, congratulations. The ocean had worse. Eurypterids, or sea scorpions, were giant arthropods that grew up to 8 feet long. That's taller than most people. They looked like armored scorpions on steroids, with massive claws for snatching prey and paddle-like limbs for swimming. Picture walking into shallow water and seeing a sofa-sized scorpion glide toward you like it owns the place. That's eurypterids. Some species were ambush predators, lying in wait before lunging at fish. Others may have hunted in groups, because apparently one sofa scorpion wasn't enough nightmare fuel. The good news? They went extinct around 250 million years ago. The bad news? They were once the dominant predators in Earth's waters. If they still existed, none of us would ever set foot in a swimming pool again. So yeah, spiders in your house are annoying. But sea scorpions? They were proof that the ocean doesn't need to be deep to scare you. Sometimes the monsters were waiting in knee-deep water. Saccharitis coronarius, the blob grandparent of all. At first glance, Saccharitis looks harmless. A tiny, wrinkly blob about 1 millimeter long. But here's the wild part. It might be one of the earliest known ancestors of humans. Yep, you come from a blob with one hole. It lived 540 million years ago and had a big mouth, no anus, and little pores around its body that probably evolved into gills, which means every meal went in and out the same way. Efficient? Maybe. Gross? Absolutely. Scientists think Saccharitis is part of the Deuterostem family tree, which eventually led to everything from starfish to us. So next time you're feeling fancy and evolved, remember, your great-great-great-great-grandparent was a wrinkly sea bean with one hole. Evolution had to start somewhere. Unfortunately, It started with this. Ichthyosaurs, dolphin imposters of doom. At first glance, ichthyosaurs look friendly, like prehistoric dolphins. But don't be fooled. These reptiles were apex predators disguised as cute sea mammals. They were streamlined, fast, and some grew over 60 feet long. Their jaws were lined with sharp teeth perfect for catching fish, squid, and even other marine reptiles. Imagine a dolphin, but instead of smiling at you, it's calculating how many bites it would take to eat you whole. Even creepier, fossil evidence shows some ichthyosaurs gave live birth in the water, captured in fossils mid-delivery. That's right, we have Jurassic baby photos of reptilian dolphin wannabes. For millions of years, they ruled the seas, until mosasaurs showed up and said, "Move over, nerds." But while they lasted, ichthyosaurs were basically the Formula One race cars of the ocean. Sleek, fast, and terrifying if you were in their way. Tully monsters, the Illinois enigma. Now we head to Illinois, where the state fossil is the Tully monster. And, oh boy, is it a monster? This 300-million-year-old creature had a torpedo-shaped body, eyes sticking out on stalks like a crab, and a long proboscis ending in a claw-like mouth. Imagine a vacuum cleaner with grabby tongs and a bad attitude. That's a Tully monster. For decades, nobody knew what it was. Worm? Mollusk? Alien? Scientists now think it was a vertebrate, related to lampreys. But honestly, it's still confusing. Its fossils are so bizarre, they look like doodles a bored student made in science class. If you were a fish back then, seeing a Tully monster swim at you must have been horrifying. It's the prehistoric version of a UFO sighting. You know it's real, but you can't explain what you're looking at. Odontocheles semitistacia, the half-shell pioneer. Ever wondered how turtles got their shells? Meet Odontocheles, the 220-million-year-old half-shelled turtle ancestor. Unlike modern turtles, it had teeth. Yes, biting turtles once existed, and only a partial shell, a hardened plastron on its belly, but no full carapace on its back. Basically, it was a turtle wearing half of its armor. This weird transitional form shows how turtles evolved their iconic design. But in the water, Odontocheles probably looked like a cursed lizard in a crop top. Its half-shell may have helped protect its underside from predators, while leaving its back exposed. Practical? Not really. But evolution was clearly in its testing phase. So yes, at one point in history, turtles were half-finished, and Odontocheles is living proof that even nature ships beta versions before the final release. Typhlosis whalesi, the alien goldfish. Nicknamed the alien goldfish, Typhlosis was a weird, jellyfish-like creature that baffled scientists. It lived 300 million years ago and grew about 10 centimeters long. Its body was soft and squishy, with no clear skeleton or shell. For decades, paleontologists had no clue where it fit on the evolutionary tree. Some thought it was a worm. Others thought it was a mollusk. At one point, someone even suggested it was its own unique phylum, the biological equivalent of "we give up." What makes it extra strange is that fossils show it might have had a gut full of conodonts, tiny, eel-like creatures with sharp teeth. So this squishy blob was out there eating toothy predators for lunch. Typhlosis is proof that sometimes evolution makes something so weird, even 300 million years later, we still don't know what the hell it was supposed to be. Basilosaurus? The misnamed whale king. Basilosaurus means king lizard, but plot twist, it was actually a whale. A massive 60-foot-long early whale with terrifying teeth. Unlike today's filter-feeding blue whales, Basilosaurus was a carnivore. It hunted fish, sharks, and possibly even smaller whales. Imagine an eel-shaped whale with jaws designed for chomping. That was Basilosaurus. It also still had tiny hind limbs, useless for walking, but a creepy reminder of its land-dwelling ancestors. Picture a giant sea monster with little vestigial legs flapping around like an evolutionary joke. Basilosaurus was so snake-like that early paleontologists thought it was a reptile, hence the misleading name. But no, it was a whale, a big, angry, meat-eating whale that you'd never want to meet while swimming. Fangingshanea renovata, the spiny shark imposter. Now, let's rewind 439 million years to meet Fangingshanea, one of the earliest jawed vertebrates. This creature looked like a small shark covered in spines. Not huge, about 25 centimeters long, but significant because it shows the origins of jaws and paired fins. Before this, most vertebrates were jawless blobs. Fangingshanea basically said, "Enough of that, time to bite stuff." Its body was armored with bony plates, and those spines probably discouraged predators. It wasn't the scariest thing in the sea, but it was a game changer. Without Fangingshanea and its friends, sharks, fish, and even humans wouldn't exist today. So yeah, this little spiky fish might not look terrifying, but it's one of the most important monsters on the list. It invented biting, and the rest is history. Opabinia regalis, the five-eyed freak. Opabinia was the Cambrian era's answer to, how weird can we make an animal before it looks like a rejected Pokemon? It was about 3 inches long, with 5 eyes on stalks, a segmented body, and a long hose-like proboscis ending in a claw. Imagine a vacuum cleaner crossed with a shrimp, then give it 5 googly eyes. That was Opabinia. Those 5 eyes let it scan for prey in all directions. The proboscis worked like a grabby arm, snatching small critters and shoving them straight into its backwards-facing mouth. Yes, backwards. Nature didn't care about symmetry yet. When scientists first presented Opabinia in the 1970s, the audience reportedly burst out laughing because it looked so ridiculous. But don't laugh too hard. In the Cambrian seas, Opabinia was a top-tier predator. Tiny, yes, but terrifying if you were a worm. Archelon ischiros, the tank turtle. If modern turtles look cute, Archelon looked like a tank with flippers. This prehistoric giant sea turtle stretched up to 15 feet long, with a leathery shell and crushing jaws strong enough to snap through ammonite shells. It lived about 80 million years ago, gliding through the seas like an armored battleship. Unlike modern turtles with hard shells, Archelon's was leathery and flexible, helping it maneuver in open waters. Its sheer size meant few predators dared to mess with it, except mosasaurs, because of course, mosasaurs. Still, Archelon's bulk and armor made it one of the ocean's great survivors, the reptilian equivalent of a tank rolling down Main Street. If you saw one today, you'd probably mistake it for a small submarine, until it snapped your fishing boat in half. Megalodon, the real Jaws. You knew this one was coming. Megalodon was the undisputed king of sharks, a 60-foot-long monster with teeth the size of your hand. It lived about 23 to 3.6 million years ago and ate whales for breakfast. Its bite force was estimated at over 40,000 pounds per square inch, enough to crush a car like a soda can. Imagine Jaws, but 3 times bigger, and with zero interest in being filmed for Hollywood. Megalodon teeth have been found all over the world, showing it ruled every ocean. Some say it still exists, hiding in the deep. Scientists say no. Personally, I say if it did, none of us would be brave enough to swim in a pool, let alone the sea. So next time you see a great white shark and think, that's scary, just remember, Megalodon would have used it as a toothpick. Titanosaurus gainesi, the giant pancake predator. Titanosaurus was basically a Cambrian Roomba of death. It had a flat, pancake-shaped body over 20 inches long, making it one of the giants of its time. It belonged to the same group as Lirarapax, with spiny claws and a circular mouth full of teeth. But instead of being sleek, Titanochorus looked like a prehistoric armored blanket. It would cruise along the seafloor, vacuuming up prey with its spiny appendages. If you were a worm, Titanochorus was your worst nightmare, an alien pancake descending from above. Its design makes no sense by today's standards, but in the Cambrian seas, it was top predator material. Proof that sometimes the weirdest shapes win. Websteroprion armstrongi, the demon worm. This one comes straight from your nightmares. Websteroprion was a giant worm with jaws up to half a meter long. Yes, jaws, as in sharp, serrated teeth hidden inside a worm's throat. It lived about 400 million years ago, lurking in burrows on the sea floor. When prey swam by, Websteroprion lunged out, clamping down with its massive jaws before dragging victims back underground. Basically, it was the original grab-you-from-the-shadows monster. Think of the sandworms from Dune, but pocket-sized. Well, nightmare pocket-sized. If you hate worms already, congratulations. Websteroprion just made them worse. Dunkleosteus torelli, the armored tank fish. Meet the fish that makes sharks look like amateurs. Dunkleosteus was a 30-foot-long armored predator from 360 million years ago. Instead of teeth, it had massive bony plates that worked like a built-in guillotine. Its bite was powerful enough to crush armor and slice through other giant fish like butter. And its head was covered in thick plating, making it a literal swimming tank. If you were a Devonian fish, you didn't fear sharks. You feared Dunkleosteus. It was fast, armored, and capable of biting you in half before you knew what happened. Basically, it was the bulldozer of the ancient seas. Subtle? No. Effective? Very. Adestus, the scissor-jawed shark. If sharks are already scary, Adestus said, let's get weird. Living about 300 million years ago, this prehistoric shark had jaws shaped like giant scissors. Instead of losing teeth in neat rows like modern sharks, Adestus grew new ones that pushed the old ones forward in a curve, forming serrated blades. Its nickname? The scissor-tooth shark. Scientists think it used its mouth to slice prey in half, swinging its head like a hedge trimmer of death. Fossils show it reached up to 20 feet long, making it a genuine sea monster of the Carboniferous. Imagine swimming next to what looks like a floating shark with scissors glued to its face. Even stranger? Scientists still debate how it actually closed its jaws without looking ridiculous. Xenacanthus, the swamp shark with a spine. Meet Xenacanthus, the shark that traded oceans for freshwater swamps and rivers. Living about 300 million years ago, it looked less like a great white and more like an eel with fins. It grew up to 20 feet long, but its weirdest feature was a long spine sticking out of the back of its head, possibly venomous. Think of it as a prehistoric shark with a built-in spear. Its teeth were V-shaped, perfect for eating crustaceans and smaller prey. Fossils show it lived all over the world, meaning if you were a small fish in a swamp, you weren't safe anywhere. If normal sharks are jet fighters, Xenacanthus was a submarine with a bayonet stuck on top. Basically, evolution's attempt at a shark cosplay experiment. Megalodon, the ocean titan. No list of monster sharks is complete without Megalodon. Living 23 to 30 million years ago, this giant was the heavyweight champ of sharks. Estimates put it at up to 60 feet long, with teeth bigger than human hands. Its bite force was over 40,000 pounds, enough to crush a car like a soda can. Fossil evidence shows it hunted whales, leaving giant bite marks in their bones. Picture an animal so big it could swallow you whole without noticing. Some scientists think Megalodon cruised warm oceans, ambushing prey from below like today's great whites, but on steroids. Sadly, or luckily, it went extinct as oceans cooled and food sources dwindled. Still, its legend survives in every what-if shark movie ever made. The Meg was cheesy, but Megalodon was real. Cladocelache, the speed demon. One of the earliest known sharks, Cladocelache swam the seas over 370 million years ago. At 6 feet long, it wasn't huge, but it was terrifyingly fast. Its streamlined body and stiff fins made it one of the first true pursuit predators in shark history. Fossils even preserve its stomach contents, including whole fish swallowed in one gulp. Unlike modern sharks, it didn't replace its teeth continuously. Once it lost them, they were gone. Still, its speed and agility made it an apex predator of the Devonian seas. Think of it as the prototype great white, except sleeker and more efficient than most of its contemporaries. If sharks are fighter jets today, Cladocelache was the Wright brothers' prototype, and still scary enough to ruin your day. Stethecanthus, the anvil shark. Now this one takes the prize for weirdest shark design. Stethecanthus, living 360 million years ago, had a bizarre flat structure on its back shaped like an anvil or ironing board. Covered in tiny spiky denticles, it looked like a floating landing pad. Scientists think males used it for display, intimidation, or even mating rituals. Picture a shark with an ironing board strapped to its back, swimming confidently like that's normal. At around 6 feet long, it wasn't the biggest predator, but its weird dorsal anvil makes it unforgettable. Its teeth suggest it was a carnivore, eating fish and soft-bodied prey. Honestly, Stethecanthus looks less like a shark and more like an early concept sketch someone forgot to erase. The prehistoric seas were weird. Hybidus, the two-toothed shark. Hybidus was a shark that tried to do everything at once. Living from the late Permian to the Cretaceous, it survived over 200 million years, proof of its adaptability. About 6 feet long, Hybidus had 2 different kinds of teeth, sharp ones at the front for grabbing fish, and flat ones at the back for crushing shellfish. Basically, it was the Swiss Army knife of sharks. Fossils show it lived worldwide, dominating both coastal seas and deeper waters. It also had spines in front of its dorsal fins, possibly for defense against bigger predators. Hybidus wasn't the scariest shark ever, but it was one of the most versatile, surviving longer than many of its monstrous cousins. Think of it as the shark that always had a backup plan. Tychidus, the shell crusher. At first glance, Tychidus looked like a giant filter feeder, but its teeth told another story. This Cretaceous shark, reaching up to 30 feet long, had broad, flat teeth arranged like pavement, perfect for crushing clams, oysters, and other shellfish. Instead of hunting whales like Megalodon, it prowled shallow seas, hoovering up anything with a shell. Fossils show its remains alongside masses of crushed mollusks, proving it was the ocean's ultimate shell cracker. Imagine a shark the size of a bus, not with dagger teeth, but with a built-in nutcracker smile. It may not have been the deadliest shark, but it was definitely one of the weirdest. Basically, if Megalodon was a chainsaw, Tychidus was an industrial blender. Cretoxarina, the Ginsu shark. Nicknamed the Ginsu shark, Cretoxarina lived during the late Cretaceous and grew up to 25 feet long. Its razor-sharp teeth and streamlined body made it the great white of its time. Fossils show it hunted large marine reptiles, including mosasaurs and plesiosaurs. Imagine a shark powerful enough to take on sea monsters straight out of Jurassic World. Cretoxarina wasn't the biggest, but it was one of the most efficient killers of its age. With a body built for speed and a mouth full of knives, it dominated the seas until its extinction about 82 million years ago. Basically, it was the ocean's serial killer, slicing and dicing anything foolish enough to cross its path. Scapanorhynchus, the living fossil. Scapanorhynchus was a prehistoric shark that looked oddly familiar because its relatives still swim today. Known as the goblin shark's ancestor, Scapanorhynchus lived about 100 million years ago. Like its modern goblin cousin, it had an elongated snout packed with sensory organs and protruding jaws that could snap forward like a spring-loaded trap. It grew up to 15 feet long and likely ambushed prey in deep waters. Fossils of Scapanorhynchus have been found worldwide, showing it was a successful predator across oceans. If you think modern goblin sharks look like nightmares, their ancestors were just as creepy. This shark proves some designs are too terrifying to go extinct entirely. Anisopleurodontus, the mystery shark. Anisopleurodontus is one of the lesser-known prehistoric sharks, but that doesn't make it less bizarre. Found in Triassic deposits, it had unusual asymmetrical teeth, sharper on one side than the other. Scientists think this may have given it a strange bite, tearing prey unevenly like a prehistoric bread knife. Its fossils are fragmentary, so we don't know exactly what it looked like. But evidence suggests it was a mid-sized predator, maybe 10 to 15 feet long. Some paleontologists argue it filled a niche between swift hunters and ambush predators, specializing in tearing softer-bodied prey. Even though it's not as famous as Megalodon, its odd teeth prove sharks experimented with some very weird designs before settling on today's models. Dunkleosteus, the armored guillotine. Before sharks ruled the oceans, there was Dunkleosteus, a fish so terrifying it didn't need teeth. Instead, its jaws were made of sharpened bone plates that slammed together like a medieval guillotine. When they closed, they could crush through armor, bone, and maybe even other Dunkleosteus. It was 10 meters long and built like a tank that learned to swim. Living 360 million years ago in the Devonian seas, this monster was the apex predator of its age. Fast, armored, and hungry, it could open its mouth in a fraction of a second, creating a vacuum that sucked prey straight in. Snap, gone. Dunkleosteus didn't nibble. It obliterated. Fossils show bones with bite marks clean through them, perfect half-moon cuts from its bony blades. Its head was a fortress of metal-like plates, while the back half of its body was oddly smooth, like nature couldn't decide if it wanted tank or torpedo. It didn't matter. Dunkleosteus was both. If you saw one today, you'd think it was a submarine with teeth. The sea would split open around it, and everything smaller, which is everything, would scatter. When the seas changed, Dunkleosteus vanished, leaving only fossils and nightmares behind. Biopleurodon, the ocean's apex reptile. Imagine a predator so massive it could swallow a great white shark in one bite. That's Biopleurodon, the marine reptile that redefined apex predator. Reaching up to 25 meters long and weighing over 100 tons, it was the top hunter of the Jurassic seas. It wasn't a dinosaur, it was a pliosaur, a short-necked relative of the plesiosaurs, with a head bigger than your car and teeth like sabers. Biopleurodon didn't chase prey, it ambushed it. Using immense flippers, it glided silently through the water, waiting for movement. When it struck hard. A single bite could cleave through flesh and bone. Its jaw pressure is estimated at nearly 15 tons of force. That's enough to crush a small vehicle or, say, another marine reptile. It fed on anything: fish, squid, other pliosaurs, maybe even each other. The sea was its buffet, and it was always hungry. If Megalodon was the shark king, Biopleurodon was Poseidon's personal enforcer, reptilian, ruthless, and built for slaughter. And while we only have fragments of its skeleton, that might be for the best. The ocean doesn't need a reminder that monsters like this were once real. Pliosaur, the bite that broke the sea. While Biopleurodon gets the fame, the pliosaurs as a whole were an entire order of ocean nightmares. Imagine a crocodile fused with a torpedo. That's a pliosaur. Massive head, short neck, 4 huge flippers, and a body built to kill at high speed. They were the apex marine reptiles of the Jurassic and early Cretaceous. Fossils of Kronosaurus and Pliosaurus funki show skulls over 2 meters long with teeth the size of bananas. Each bite was a catastrophic event. They hunted plesiosaurs, sharks, fish, even each other. Their jaws could generate forces exceeding 33,000 newtons, enough to crack a car chassis in half. Unlike sluggish modern predators, plesiosaurs were fast. Their foreflippers worked like propellers, letting them lunge with frightening acceleration. If you could stand in the water beside one, it would be like watching a bus glide past, silent, deliberate, deadly. And then it would open its mouth. The pliosaurs ruled their world with prehistoric precision, pure speed, pure power, no mercy. Ichthyotitan, the Leviathan of the Jurassic. Move over whales. Meet Ichthyodon, the recently discovered giant ichthyosaur that might have rivaled blue whales in size. Living 200 million years ago, Ichthyodon was the ultimate marine reptile, streamlined like a dolphin, scaled up to monstrous proportions. Some estimates suggest lengths of 25 meters or more. It wasn't built for ambush, it was built for endurance. Ichthyodon was a deep-sea hunter, gliding through open oceans in search of squid and fish. Its long snout and conical teeth were designed for quick, efficient kills. Picture a reptilian whale moving silently beneath the waves, the ocean's shadow. If Dunkleosteus was the guillotine and Leopleurodon the tank, Ichthyodon was the submarine. Its enormous eyes, the size of dinner plates, suggest it hunted in the dark depths, navigating by light faint enough to kill your vision instantly. When it breached the surface, it must have looked like a moving island, and yet, despite its size, it vanished, replaced by smaller, faster predators. But for millions of years, Ichthyodon ruled with quiet dominance, the silent king of ancient seas. Dacosaurus, the sea crocodile. If a crocodile and a shark had an argument about who's scarier, Dacosaurus would end it by eating them both. This Jurassic marine reptile was part of the Metriorhynchids, sea crocs that fully adapted to ocean life. Sleek body, flippered limbs, tail fin, built like a reptilian torpedo. But Dacosaurus stood out for one thing, its head. It had a short, deep skull with teeth shaped like steak knives, perfect for slicing through flesh. Scientists nicknamed it the Godzilla of the seas. It hunted like a shark, but bit like a crocodile, capable of tearing chunks out of prey with violent thrashing motions. Its stomach contents show fish, squid, and even other marine reptiles. At 5 meters long, it wasn't the biggest, but it was meaner than most. Imagine a crocodile evolved for speed. No lumbering, no basking, just relentless pursuit. If you ever feel safe swimming in the ocean, remember Dacosaurus. The sea doesn't need big monsters to be terrifying, just smart ones. Mosasaur, the true sea dragon. If Megalodon was the shark king, Mosasaurus was the dragon that dethroned him, long before he ever existed. Stretching up to 17 meters, with jaws that could crush through bone and ammonite shells, Mosasaurus was the apex predator of the late Cretaceous seas. It wasn't a dinosaur, it was a marine lizard, a distant relative of modern monitor lizards and snakes. It had double-hinged jaws, letting it swallow prey whole, like a python with fins. Its tail fin propelled it like a missile, while its eyes, forward-facing and enormous, scanned the depths for movement. It ate sharks, sea turtles, plesiosaurs, anything unlucky enough to cross its path. Fossils show its bite marks on bones of other mosasaurs. Cannibalism? Of course. If you saw one breach the surface, it would look like a whale until it opened its mouth, and then you'd realize whales aren't supposed to have fangs. Mosasaurus wasn't just a predator, it was evolution's victory lap, the ultimate aquatic lizard that ended the age of marine reptiles with a bang. Predator X, the apex of all apexes. If Leopleurodon was terrifying, Predator X, later named Plesiosaurus funke, was worse. Found in Arctic Norway, this monster stretched up to 15 meters and had a bite 4 times stronger than T-Rex. Its skull alone was 2 meters long and nearly all teeth. It was a pliosaur, a group of short-necked, long-jawed reptiles that terrorized the seas. But Predator X was the largest and most brutal of them all, a living torpedo tipped with a guillotine. Its teeth, each as long as bananas, interlocked perfectly to trap prey. Once it bit, nothing escaped. Imagine a predator that could hunt anything. Sharks, plesiosaurs, even its own kind. And you've got Predator X. Its fossils were found in what was once a warm, tropical sea, proving even paradise had monsters. If it still lived today, submarines wouldn't be safe. The ocean would belong to it again, and we'd never dare to swim. Leviathan, the whale that hunted whales. Finally, we meet Leviathan Melville, named after the biblical Leviathan and the author of Moby Dick. The name fits. This was a sperm whale's ancestor, but instead of hunting squid, it hunted other whales. Leviathan was over 17 meters long, with teeth the size of bowling pins, the largest of any known predator. Its bite was powerful enough to crush skulls. It shared the oceans with Megalodon, and fossil evidence suggests they may have competed for prey. Picture that, a giant shark and a killer whale with teeth the size of your hand, sharing one ocean. Leviathan hunted by ramming and biting, using sonar and brute strength to take down massive prey. Modern sperm whales lost their teeth. Leviathan didn't. It was built for carnage. When it died out about 12 million years ago, the seas got quieter, safer maybe, but its bones still whisper a terrifying truth. Megalodon wasn't the ocean's worst nightmare. Leviathan was. Siphonophore, the alien. That's actually a colony. If you ever wondered what a space organism would look like, meet the siphonophore. A creature so bizarre, it's not even a single animal. It's a colony of hundreds, sometimes thousands, of genetically identical beings called zooids, each specialized for a different task: hunting, digestion, reproduction, all working together as one giant organism. Imagine a floating city made of clone body parts, and you're close. Some siphonophores, like Praia dubia, stretch over 150 feet long, making them among the longest creatures on Earth, longer than a blue whale. And the crazy part? They're so delicate that they disintegrate when touched, meaning most specimens we've ever seen were captured on camera, not in nets. Each zooid glows with bioluminescent light, forming spirals and waves of blue that shimmer through the dark. When you see one drifting in submersible footage, it looks like a living galaxy, hypnotic, silent, and somehow unsettling. Scientists call them modular animals, but that doesn't do justice to the pure strangeness. It's like if every cell in your body decided to have a career and a personality. In the deep ocean, individuality doesn't always matter. Sometimes, teamwork just means fusing into one 150-foot-long immortal glowing noodle. Weird octopus, the Dumbo, the blanket, and the ghost. Octopuses are already weird, but they're deep-sea cousins? They're downright supernatural. Take the Dumbo octopus, for instance, a delicate little creature that flaps when ear-like fins to swim, like a baby elephant in slow motion. It lives nearly 13,000 feet below, where pressure would crush a submarine, and yet it drifts like it's made of silk and dreams. Then there's the blanket octopus, easily one of the most visually stunning animals on Earth. Females unfurl webbed membranes between their arms, creating a shimmering blanket that waves like a royal cape. Males, on the other hand, are about 100 times smaller, barely the size of a walnut. Nature said, you get beauty, you get inconvenience. And the ghost octopus, discovered near Hawaii, might be the most adorable of all, completely transparent, looking like a cartoon come to life. Scientists actually nicknamed it Casper. Octopuses down here don't rely on ink. It'd be useless in the dark. Instead, they blend invisibility with flexibility, intelligence, and occasionally bioluminescence. They prove that the ocean doesn't just make monsters, it makes art. If aliens visited Earth and saw a deep-sea octopus, they might just wave hello to their cousin, sea toads, the grumpy walking fish. If you could combine a frog, a fish, and someone who hates mornings, you'd get the sea toad, also known as the coffin fish or deep-sea angler toadfish. These squat, flat-faced creatures walk across the seafloor on modified fins that look suspiciously like feet. They're the kind of fish that look perpetually done with existence. Their most famous trick? Inflating themselves into balloons when threatened, a defensive puff that makes them look like a floating grumpy beanbag. They also have small glowing lures on their heads to attract prey, just like anglerfish. though their expression suggests they're not impressed with the whole process. Sea toads are built for waiting. They conserve energy by barely moving, surviving on minimal oxygen, and eating whatever wanders too close. If patience were a survival strategy, they'd win evolution's gold medal. Despite looking like underwater toads wearing invisible slippers, they're actually members of the anglerfish family, proving once again that the deep sea is full of fashion faux pas. Still, there's something endearing about their miserable charm, the kind of creature that looks like it wants to complain to the ocean's manager. Harp sponge, the beautiful killer. At first glance, the harp sponge looks like an underwater sculpture, delicate, elegant, shaped like a golden harp. But don't let its beauty fool you. This thing is a predator. While most sponges passively filter feed, the harp sponge has evolved an entirely different strategy. Its harp-like branches are covered in tiny Velcro-like hooks that snag passing crustaceans. Once trapped, the sponge slowly envelops its victim, digesting it cell by cell. It doesn't move, it doesn't chase, it just waits, turning elegance into ambush. Discovered only recently off California's deep sea floor, the harp sponge shows that even sponges, creatures we associate with bath toys, can reinvent themselves as silent assassins. Its translucent structure catches ocean currents like a net, giving it both grace and lethality. It's a reminder that beauty and brutality often coexist in the deep. The harp sponge might look like a musical instrument, but it plays only one note: death. Gulper eel, the living balloon animal. The gulper eel looks like it was designed by a sleep-deprived cartoonist. It has a thin, whip-like tail, tiny eyes, and a head that can unhinge like a pelican's pouch, only much, much weirder. Its mouth is so enormous it makes up a third of its entire body length. When it opens wide, the gulper eel looks like a swimming parachute, able to swallow prey almost as big as itself. The secret? A stretchable stomach that can expand like a balloon. That's right, this eel can binge eat in ways humans can only dream of. It lives in the abyssal depths where food is scarce, so every meal counts. Its long tail ends in a bioluminescent pink bulb, possibly used to lure prey or flirt. Same thing down there. Gulper eels look both horrifying and hilarious, oscillating between nightmare and Muppet. But evolution doesn't do comedy, it does efficiency. Down in the dark, when every calorie is rare, having a mouth bigger than your body might just be genius. Colossal squid, the deep's true leviathan. Move over, giant squid. The colossal squid is the real heavyweight champion of the deep. With eyes the size of dinner plates and hooks on its tentacles, it's the ocean's closest thing to a living kaiju. Unlike its giant cousin, which grows long and lean, the colossal squid is short, thick, and heavily muscled, built more like a submarine than a snake. Its beak, larger than a human hand, can shear through flesh and bone. Very few have ever been seen alive. Most are discovered tangled in fishing lines or partially eaten by sperm whales, their only known predator. Those whales often have sucker scars as big as dinner plates, physical evidence of battles fought miles below the surface. The colossal squid also glows. It has bioluminescent organs in its eyes, possibly to detect faint shadows or lure prey. It's one of the few deep-sea animals that's both terrifying and real enough to prove myths right. The sailors who feared giant monsters from the depths? They weren't wrong. They just underestimated how real the deep can be. Spider crabs, the ocean's slow-mo spiders. They might not spin webs, but spider crabs definitely share the nightmare fuel aesthetic. These long-legged crustaceans creep across the seafloor with unsettling precision, looking like giant robotic spiders on stilts. The Japanese spider crab in particular holds the record for the largest arthropod alive, with legs stretching up to 12 feet across. Despite their monstrous appearance, spider crabs are scavengers, not hunters. They clean the ocean floor, feeding on carrion and detritus, acting as the abyss's janitors. Their slow movement and tough armor help them survive in the cold, crushing depths. And they're crafty. Spider crabs decorate their shells with sponges and seaweed for camouflage, basically wearing ocean fashion like walking art installations. It's equal parts creepy and brilliant. Some species migrate seasonally in massive herds, crawling together across the seafloor, a sight that looks like a spider apocalypse. But don't worry, they're gentle until you drop a fish carcass nearby. Then all bets are off. The spider crab may look like it crawled out of a nightmare, but in reality, it's one of the ocean's oldest recyclers, keeping the deep clean, one horrifying leg at a time. Pelican flounder, the flat-faced transformer. The pelican flounder is what happens when evolution experiments with geometry. Born looking like a regular fish, it undergoes one of the weirdest transformations in the animal kingdom. One of its eyes literally migrates across its head until both eyes sit on the same side. This bizarre adaptation lets it lie perfectly flat on the seafloor while keeping both eyes aimed upward for predators and prey. And if that weren't odd enough, the pelican flounder can also change color to match its surroundings. A deep-sea shapeshifter that's half pancake, half periscope. Its mouth is huge, stretching like a pelican's pouch, allowing it to suck in fish nearly its own size. Despite looking like a sentient doormat, it's a highly effective ambush predator. It may not win beauty contests, but the pelican flounder is a master of weird efficiency. It proves that evolution doesn't care about symmetry, only survival. The next time someone says you need balance in life, show them this fish. It's been lopsided for 50 million years and doing just fine. Fangtooth, the nightmare that never blinks. Meet the fangtooth, the fish that makes piranhas look cute. It has the largest teeth in proportion to body size of any fish on Earth. Its fangs are so long they have to fit into special pockets in its skull just to close its mouth. Despite its terrifying look, the fangtooth is only about 6 inches long. But don't let size fool you. This creature lives over 16,000 feet deep, where pressure is 1,000 times greater than at the surface, and everything either glows, bites, or both. It hunts by detecting movement in the pitch black, lunging with jaws that snap shut like bear traps. Its skin is covered in scars from battles and failed hunts, badges of survival in a place where losing once can mean extinction. The fangtooth doesn't glow, doesn't camouflage, doesn't flee. It just endures. Evolution threw every horror trope at this fish, and it said, yeah, I can work with that. It's proof that the deep ocean doesn't need monsters from imagination. It already has them. Jellyfish, the eternal drifters. They've been around for 500 million years, and they'll probably outlive us all. Jellyfish are the ultimate survivors of the deep, drifting silently through every ocean layer, from sunlit shallows to pitch-black abysses. Their bodies are 95% water, yet they're among the most efficient predators alive. Some glow with bioluminescence, creating alien light shows in the dark. Others, like the Deepsteria enigmatica, unfurl like translucent parachutes. So massive and fluid, they look like ghosts in motion. And then there's the immortal jellyfish, capable of reversing its aging process, turning back into a polyp and starting life over again. While most animals fight death, jellyfish treat it like an optional feature. Their sting can paralyze prey, or, in the case of box jellies, even kill humans. But most are harmless, feeding gently in the black silence of the abyss. They are the ocean's most poetic paradox, delicate but dangerous, brainless but effective, ancient yet ever new. The jellyfish doesn't resist the current, it becomes it. And maybe that's why, after 500 million years, it's still glowing in the dark while most of evolution's other experiments have vanished. Lanternfish, the flashlight of the abyss. If the deep sea had streetlights, they'd be made of lanternfish. These tiny, silver-scaled swimmers are the unsung stars of the ocean's midnight zone, literally. Covering nearly 65% of all deep-sea fish biomass, lanternfish are nature's disco balls, covered in photophores, light-producing organs that twinkle in perfect patterns. To us, it's mesmerizing. To them, it's life or death. Lanternfish use their light for everything: camouflage, communication, and romance. By glowing on their bellies, they perform counter-illumination, matching the faint light filtering from above so predators below can't see their silhouette. It's stealth by sparkle, and every night, billions of lanternfish migrate upward from the depths to feed, the largest migration on Earth. Imagine the entire ocean shimmering as an army of tiny headlights ascends through the dark. It's beautiful, eerie, and unseen by human eyes. They even have synchronized glow patterns by species, turning entire swarms into floating constellations. NASA once joked that if the ocean were drained, the glowing trails of lanternfish would look like the Milky Way flipped upside down. They're small, but without them, the deep ocean would go dark, literally and ecologically. The lanternfish proves that in the deep sea, the best camouflage might just be shining your light. Black dragonfish, the glow-in-the-dark monster. The black dragonfish looks like it crawled straight out of a deep-sea horror movie. Long, snake-like, and armed with needle teeth. But the real nightmare? It makes its own light, including red light. Most deep-sea creatures can only produce or see blue and green light, because those wavelengths travel furthest underwater. The dragonfish breaks that rule. It evolved a unique chemical system that lets it glow red, an invisible wavelength to most other animals. It's basically using night vision goggles in reverse, shining red beams only it can see, turning the ocean into its private hunting ground. This deadly stealth tech lets it spot prey without being seen, the deep-sea equivalent of using infrared goggles to stalk a buffet. Females grow up to 40 centimeters long, males only 5. Evolution clearly picked favorites. And get this, their stomachs are transparent, so when they swallow glowing prey, the light doesn't give them away. It's like eating glow sticks, but making sure your stomach doesn't glow after. The black dragonfish isn't just weird, it's tactical genius. A ghost predator that hunts with invisible light, blending terror and beauty in a single flicker. Luciferin-fueled jelly, the Lucy horticaloo. Few names sound as whimsical or mysterious as Lucy horticaloo, the shorthand for a jellyfish species that turns its entire body into a pulsing light show. This creature uses luciferin, a light-producing molecule shared by many glowing animals, and it's what gives fireflies and deep-sea creatures their glow. But Lucy horticaloo, a name used to refer to the Atolla genus jelly, doesn't just glow. It performs a full strobe show. When attacked, it releases pulses of light in a circular pattern that spirals out like a bioluminescent SOS signal. Scientists call this the burglar alarm effect. The idea is simple. When a predator attacks the jelly, it lights up to attract bigger predators, like yelling, "Hey everyone, free snack over here." It's the deep-sea version of calling in an airstrike on your attacker. The glow lasts long after the jelly has drifted away, leaving the confused predator caught in the spotlight. In essence, Lucy horticaloo isn't just glowing for beauty, it's weaponized light, survival through spectacle. The next time you see a glowing jellyfish, remember, it's not showing off. It's fighting for its life in the prettiest way possible. Firefly, the backyard alchemist. The firefly might seem ordinary, but its biochemistry is extraordinary. That little flicker you see on summer nights? It's pure chemistry, luciferin and luciferase, combining with oxygen and magnesium to create cold, green-yellow light. No heat, no energy loss. If humans could do this efficiently, we'd never pay for electricity again. Fireflies use their light for one main purpose: love. Each species has its own flashing rhythm, a language of light signals to attract mates. Some males even mimic other species' flashes to lure females closer, only for those females to eat them instead. Love hurts, and sometimes it glows. And get this, one species, Photinus pyralis, uses its glow to warn predators that it tastes horrible, a trick borrowed by toxic frogs and caterpillars. That's right, fireflies are both poets and scam artists. Across cultures, they've symbolized souls, fairies, or sparks of life, but scientifically, they represent efficiency, the pinnacle of biological light. Fireflies prove that even the most delicate beauty can have evolutionary bite. Fire beetle, the eternal glower. If fireflies are flickering poets, fire beetles are industrial-grade lanterns. Their light organs glow continuously, not in pulses, thanks to specialized photosites that emit steady bioluminescence. They don't flash to flirt, they glow to warn. Found mostly in tropical forests, these beetles use light to signal toxicity. Predators learned quickly, glowing beetle equals bad taste. Some species even emit infrared light, invisible to us, but bright in the insect world. Unlike fireflies, fire beetles glow from their thorax and abdomen simultaneously, creating the illusion of headlights, hence their nickname, headlight beetles. Ancient explorers reportedly used jars of them as natural lamps, though that might be more legend than fact. The bioluminescent reaction inside them, luciferin and luciferase, again, is so efficient that scientists have studied it for medical imaging and diagnostics. The fire beetle is nature's glow stick that never goes out, a steady reminder that light can mean love, warning, or, in this case, don't eat me or you'll regret it. Railroad worm, the neon caterpillar. Nature occasionally builds something so ridiculous it looks cyberpunk. Meet the railroad worm, a beetle larva covered in glowing spots that run down its sides. Green on the body, red on the head, making it look like a tiny train lit up at night. The secret weapon? It can produce two colors of light at once, something almost no other bioluminescent animal can do. Each light is controlled independently, so it can flash its head red while keeping its sides green, confusing predators. Scientists call this the dual wavelength defense. I call it mood lighting. The red light is especially weird because few animals can even see it, meaning the worm can signal secretly to its own kind while staying invisible to others. It lives underground or under bark, glowing faintly until it matures into a dull adult beetle that can't glow at all. Imagine being born as a living neon sign, only to turn into a boring insect. Evolution giveth and taketh away. Green bomber worm, the deep sea's glitter grenade. If the Dagalite shrimp throws flashbangs, the green bomber worm drops glowing grenades. Found in deep Pacific waters, this marine worm defends itself by releasing glowing green spheres that float upward like drifting Christmas ornaments. Each one glows for minutes, distracting predators while the worm escapes. These light bombs are actually modified gill structures, detachable organs designed purely for bioluminescent defense. When threatened, the worm contracts its body, launching the spheres like glowing ink. It's one of the few examples of a creature weaponizing detachable body parts that double as glow bombs. Deep-sea scientists adore them. They look like the ocean's version of fairy dust. In a realm of perpetual blackness, the green bomber worm uses art as armor. It proves that bioluminescence isn't just communication, it's choreography, a literal performance of survival. Moxia, the living spark. The Moxia, a deep-sea amphipod, is one of the smallest bioluminescent crustaceans ever found, and arguably one of the strangest. Barely a centimeter long, it glows so brightly when disturbed that it can light up an entire petri dish. The glow comes from luciferin-based reactions, but here's the twist. It can control where the light appears. When attacked, Moxia directs its glow from specific body segments, creating the illusion of motion or multiple individuals. Think of it as the ocean's first hologram projector. The ability to move its light points independently makes it nearly impossible for predators to tell which part is real. In short, Moxia is a creature that outsmarts death with light choreography. Scientists studying it have compared its survival tactics to fighter jets deploying flares. The difference? Moxia does it on instinct and in total darkness. It's fragile, elusive, and beautiful. Proof that size doesn't matter when your entire body can become a weaponized light show. Fungi, the glowing forest ghosts. It's not just animals that glow, mushrooms do too. Over 80 species of fungi emit a soft green light, especially in tropical rainforests. This glow, called foxfire, has been described since ancient times. Aristotle himself wrote about glowing wood in the 4th century BCE. The reason? It's still debated. Some scientists think the light attracts insects that help spread spores. Others think it's just a byproduct of metabolism. Either way, the glow comes from a luciferin luciferase system similar to fireflies. In pitch-dark forests, the sight is haunting. Logs dotted with eerie green light like fallen stars. During wartime, soldiers in the trenches use glowing fungi to read maps, calling it foxfire lanterns. Nature's oldest bioluminescence might not live in the ocean, but in the woods. A reminder that light has always been life's most universal language. Blackbelly lantern shark, the glowing predator. The blackbelly lantern shark might be small, but it's armed with stealth technology that would make the military jealous. This shark glows from its belly using thousands of photophores, creating an effect called counter-illumination camouflage. In the dim light of the deep sea, shadows can give predators away. By glowing just enough to match the faint light above, the lantern shark erases its outline completely. Prey looking up see nothing but empty water. It's the aquatic equivalent of an invisibility cloak. But the shark doesn't stop there. It also uses light to communicate. Specific glow patterns may help individuals identify one another in the darkness. Some species even glow differently depending on sex. It's eerie, precise, and efficient. The shark doesn't chase, it ambushes from invisibility. Evolution designed it like a living stealth bomber, glowing just enough to disappear. The blackbelly lantern shark proves that in the deep, the only way to survive the dark is to master it. If you've watched to this point, slam that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. This helps us to rank better in the YouTube algorithm.